Hey everyone, and welcome to the software portion of the pickup. I noticed after filming the hardware one, which is either another video separate from this or connected to this, the shelving unit looks like it's about to explode. That's primarily because, like I said previously, everything's being moved around, so things have just been dumped where they are for now. But moving on. So, I had mentioned my arcade hardware pickups, but I didn't show the games. And I will show them now. The first is this is Virtua Fighter Kids. This came with my STV board. The case itself is from Southtown Homebrew. The art is custom. I had a friend help me out with it because they did not have a VF Kids template uploaded. The cards themselves are actually really basic. You see here there's just a plain sticker and a super plain sticker on top saying the title. So, Virtua Fighter Kids came with it. The case itself is a universal case, but you actually have to. I didn't have a Dremel tool, so I had to twist out the plastic with pliers. Kind of jams it, makes it look rough on the inside. Looks fine on the outside. Recently bought a Dremel tool to help in situations like this. So that's what VF Kids looks like, or my copy at least. Anyone else who has one, theirs would look slightly different. This is just to hold the multi-cart. I picked out the Radiant Silvergun art. There's no art for the multi-cart, so you had to pick something unless you just wanted a blank case, and I went with Radiant Silvergun. More of an aspiration. It would be awesome to have this, the STV card of this, but it is like $800, so I don't see that happening. So instead, I'll just make do with the box. And before I got the multi-cart, and right after I got the board, someone on Arcade Projects was selling Die Hard Arcade. This is the art I went with for that. I think it's just the basic arcade flyer is the art they used. But this seems to be one of the main titles people have for the system. It's Die Hard Arcade. I mean, it's fun. Must have made a ton of them though. And Darksoft, who made the multi-cart and who makes the CPS2 multi-cart, has a sale thread, and from him I purchased two titles. This is the original Metal Slug on MVS. Case and art, once again, from Southtown Homebrew with their cutting services, because I don't trust myself to do any of that. So the first Metal Slug was actually a really good deal at like $60. The only problem is a little bit of the stickers ripped off, but that game has gone up in price quite a bit. I almost bought a friend's repurposed AES cart for $60 like 3 years ago, so really pleased with that. I think this was like $30 or $35. King of Fighters 97. At this point, I have I think half of the King of Fighters titles for MVS and over half for Metal Slug. Alright, let's move these here. Looking at Video Games New York, I ran across this little gem, a sealed copy of Cosmic Fantasy 2. There are a number of these on eBay and Video Games New York still sealed, so they're not really rare, but I thought it'd be a fun grab. You still see the hang tab on it. Yeah. So this was a Working Designs RPG for the TurboGrafx CD. Thought that was cool. And they sold another sealed item I'll show later. A guy on a forum, and a number of these were actually forum purchases, was getting rid of his Atari Jaguar collection. So I am missing one of the titles I bought from him. But it was Ice Strike or something. It was like a $10 title. But I got a box copy of Kasumi Ninja. Kasumi Ninja, I actually have cart only. It's one of the games I got with the system back in like 2008 or so. Maybe even before that. But I never had the manual or box, so now I have both. And all of his games came in box protectors, which was great. One of the biggies I got from him at a really good deal, Wolfenstein 3D. So now the only big Jaguar game I'm missing is Towers 2. I have everything else, I believe, at this point. And this one was from another guy. He had the cart for $30, which I didn't even know existed. And I found the box at, I think it's BoxMyGame or BoxMyRetro.com. That is R-Type. There is someone who brings over Atari computer ports to the Jaguar. And you can get it for free if you have an ability to play downloaded Atari games or Jaguar games, which I do not. Aside from on the Mister, which that cord just got released. So I don't know when that'll ever get working for this type of stuff. But there's another Atari cart you can get that allows you to do it. And he releases them for free. Someone put it on a cartridge, which I did not know about, like I said. And I thought, man, I want to make this experience complete. What can I do? I ended up finding this site. Someone had made this box art, I think for like RetroPies and stuff. And he was able to repurpose it for an actual physical box. So I think this is pretty cool. I don't know how many people actually have like what I'm holding in my hand. Not that it's official, so that might not matter to a lot of people, but to have something that unique, pretty neat. Now the port itself, I mean, I think it's one person that does it, and it's based on the quality of the original port. So it's not super smooth, but I mean, it's just a really cool novelty. From a dude on a forum, I got a really nice looking copy of Super Mario 2. Now the manual is pretty rough, and he had said boxes, excellent manual, I think just good or okay. I picked this up because this was my brother's, one of my brother's favorite video games growing up. I still have the manual somewhere, but it's probably in the same shape as this one. He only played like 3 video games growing up, and this was one of them. So I really wanted to get this one back. So I've been actually looking for it for quite a while. I was able to grab Mario 3 in great condition much, much faster. My wife loves that one. She'll play that one hooked up to a CRT. That one took a while, and I could never find it without much damage. But yeah, a guy on a forum had this, and I am super pleased. I had to ask him if it was a repro because the box is just that good, and he said no. He bought a bundle of stuff, and they were all in this good a shape. Surprised to see the manual was as bad as it is, but I can replace that at any point. One thing I forgot to show in the hardware section was to store my CPS2 stuff, I have to put them in boxes. And normally you want to put them upside down in case the battery leaks. Well, I wanted a way to identify them, so I kind of went all out on a certain service that lets you print things out. Now, I don't have these publicly available because, you know, they would get shut down. But I put art. Now, this came out way too small, but so what I want is something like this would go on the top of the box for Street Fighter Alpha 3, and this will go on the side. So I print out a variety of stickers because they have them as a glossy, as matte, as transparent. So you'll see here, I did it for, I also have Children of the Atom, so I did it for that. I think I'm going to go with glossy, except like, you can't tell, but for transparent, you only get the logo, which is nice and clean, but this is a regular sticker, so it's not really, I mean, the colors are nice, but they're more vibrant, I think, on the glossy. This is the art. Now, some of the art is actually really big on the internet, but when they print it out, it comes across quite small. So, like for Children of the Atom here, I mean, it's big enough for my purposes, but the actual arcade flyer scanned in is massive, but it's shrunk down to this. So I would put this on top of the box and the logo on the side. So no matter how I have it stored, I can tell what game I'm going to grab. So this would be for Alpha 1, and this would be on top of Alpha 2. So I thought those were pretty cool. I still got to sort out I think I'm going to use priority mailboxes. I have some extra ones. They seem to fit just right. One thing I forgot to show was I picked up a PSP 3000 specifically to modify it. Now, I have a PSP 1000. I had it since launch. I actually went the day it was released. I had an early class in college. I went and picked it up with Ridge Racer. I had played emulators on it, but I really didn't understand why people liked them so much. Well, when I got sick late last year, I started playing Beyond the Beyond on a modded PS Vita, and I could never get the graphics to look right. If you put it looking really good, the battery drains super fast. If you don't, it looks a little fuzzy. And it turns out it's because it has to do with the screen size and like pixel proportion. Everyone kept saying the PSP 2000 or 3000 is the way to go, way better than the 1000, and they were right. The 3000 does have a bit of a shimmer, but it's much lighter than the 1000. This is considerably lighter. It feels almost fake. I've gotten used to the shimmer. I've read in some games like Fighters, it's really detrimental because the characters kind of break apart. Initially, when I booted it up, it looked like screen tearing, but after I charged it and restarted it, that worked itself out. They basically added scan lines and like a adds a bit of a flicker. Some people can't stand it, so they go at the 2000. I'm happy with this one. I think it looks good. And I loaded up a lot of PSP stuff on there. A lot of the games I already own. I modded so I could put on there so I don't have to keep swapping the disc out. I have been trying to play Beyond the Beyond. The encounter rate in that game is incredibly high. There are some areas in like Albert Odyssey and Final Fantasy IX where the encounter rate is high. Well, take those areas and stretch them out for an entire game, and that's Beyond the Beyond. It would probably be like a 7-hour game if you didn't have to fight so much. If you walk about 4 feet and you haven't had to fight, it feels like a small victory. And so, of course, there are puzzles that send you back and forth in the same large room, and you'll fight, you'll literally fight 17, 18 times between flipping switches. It's crazy. And I love the aesthetics of it, that kind of transitional art style from 16 to 32-bit, the pseudo 3D Battlefield. I like all that, but when I first started, there's no way to control your characters other than the main guy, except if you go in the menu. And I wondered why that was, because that seems odd. You normally want to give the player control, and I could tell why, because if you had to manually control your entire party for every single fight, you would go crazy. It takes so long to do anything in that game. I really want to finish it just to beat it. It was the first Japanese style role-playing game for the PlayStation 1. It might have been the first RPG period, but I don't know if Kingsfield beat it by any margin. If it did, it wasn't by much. So I've always wanted to play it, and I'm like 8 hours into it, but it is grueling. I just cannot believe no one told the designer, tone this down. This is a little much. Let them fight maybe 40 times per screen. That might be enough. Got a bunch of Sega Saturn Flash. Now, they had a line of these in Europe, but this is the Japanese variant. The seller, for some reason, would not sell to me. I had to go through a friend, and I'm glad I did, because I have almost all of them now. I'm going to try to do, this is going to be ambitious, I want to do a little tour of all of these. I've already done a tour on a number of them, but that's what I'm going for. I really just have fun doing that. It takes a long time to do them, but they're just fun projects. Let me try to situate myself here. Now, from a kind of an infamous seller on eBay who sells resealed games as new, I've mentioned him before, but if you kind of follow his auctions, there's an ebb and flow where people find out the games aren't actually new and no one bids. And so you can get in really cheap, and then people either stop caring, like me, who know what's going on, or they don't realize and the prices go back up. So on one of the downturns, I picked up, Savage Rain for the Neo Geo CD, and his fake Still Sealed Samurai Showdown 1. And these are super, super cheap, like $5. Now, and here's proof that this is one of the new ones. You can see there's actually edgeware on the spine card if you look really closely. And you can tell that it's been opened and resealed. But if you're just looking at an auction, he kind of puts the photo like this, which a lot of people do, and it looks sealed. You see the actual seal down here. You see the shininess of the wrap. You think you're good to go, and instead you're getting something resealed, and those were just a couple dollars each. You just got to wait till his downturns. Those will shoot back up the next round. I found this, which the guy had listed as good, and the only thing I can find that's a problem is the case is cracked, but it was $11, a steel-sealed copy of King of Fighters 98, and it actually comes with the calendar for $19.99. So this was a nice find. I have the U.S. version of 98, but it does not come with the calendar, which, going into the year 2021 next year, a 1999 calendar is absolutely crucial. But yeah, that was super cheap. Pleased with that. This is one of the Tech Saturn cover discs. I did a demo tour already, and I mentioned previously I'm working on a second one. I've got 4 of these total. There was only 17 issues. I don't know if they all came with discs or not. These are really hard to do little tours of because they switch resolutions constantly. You'll have 40 games previewed, 20 resolution switches, then there'll be interviews with resolution switches and menus with switches, and so every one of those has to be chopped up. You have to stop and record each one of those independently, otherwise the signal gets dropped by the Elgato and you get absolutely nothing but a blank screen. But this is such a little time capsule. These have been fun to mess with. the humor is very strange too. Like I know I don't understand what they're saying, but wait till you see some of the future ones. It's bizarre. It is very bizarre. Uh, Roller Core X, Mitch showed this on his channel, and I completely forgot about it. It's a Macross shooter for the Saturn, and they're really cheap. It's only like $20 to get this. I had always heard it was really good, and yeah, it looks like a lot of fun. Oh, this is the secondary bag. I had to buy. Someone actually sold the art for this. The first one I got had sun damage, and so I put a search for this game and like art insert, and someone sold the manual and the art insert for $4 at some point. That almost never happens, and randomly for this kind of nothing. I'm not gonna say nothing Saturn game, but this very kind of run-of-the-mill Saturn game, someone actually sold the art insert. Stuff like that almost never happens for me. So yeah, I was able to actually get a mint condition one and remove the sun damage. I think it was the back was actually sun damage. It was weird. Finally got Proteus for the PAL Saturn. I read that the G here, it has to do with Australia, and I didn't know what that was. I thought maybe like their version of a GameStop put stickers on them, but instead it was Sega over there did it themselves, and some people really like that, find it collectible. I'm not sure. I'm just leaving it on there. I don't want to damage the case. This thing absolutely falls apart if you open it. I'm talking falls apart. Everything comes apart. So I'm leaving it sealed, which is a good thing that David Lee came out with a Proteus Repro. So I got a few more from him. So this looks fantastic. If you've never seen his repros before, they feel and look like actual retail products. So he also put out Puzzle Night, which never was officially released, but got an unofficial release thanks to the magic of the internet. And you got this in Europe, but we did not get this here except on the PS1, Swagman. The only games from David I'm missing are Saturn Nights, which that's my most anticipated game from him. I remember seeing his box art like 3 years ago and trying to find download links and realizing later on they had been pulled because someone was selling them, selling kind of iffy copies of it on eBay using inferior quality paper and colored and stuff. And he sold Mega Man X3, I think, which was also a European release we didn't get. But normally he's got a build up to let you know when you can sign up for it. But I'm guessing due to everything going on, he just dropped it really fast. And I didn't know it was being sold till after they had sold the initial 20. And once he sells 20, you get on this list, and it can be a really long wait because he kind of goes through this big library of games and he puts out bundles at a time. So you just got to wait your turn. Hell, recently he's been doing Proteus, so if you've been waiting on that, you should be getting one soon. Let me stretch my legs here. It's starting to go numb. All right. There was a seller out of Japan selling games for $1. It was very, very hard not to go absolutely wild. It was only in retrospect, when I calmed down from my giddiness and actually looked at the individual titles, I would see like, yeah, there were problems here and there. So like he had Panzer General, the Japanese version for PS1, which I just hadn't seen before, and I thought that'd be cool to have as a novelty. But yeah, there was like scuffing on the manual, and so I had about 20 tabs open, so I whittled it down to 2. And the first one is Crime Crackers, which was one of the first PlayStation 1 releases. It's a first-person shooter with character interaction. They actually say RPG on the back down there. This was cool because it came with the stickers. A lot of early PS1 games came with stickers. Like we even had some over here, Raiden Project, which I didn't get the stickers in my copy, but they had memory card stickers. So if you get Resident Evil or Biohazard, it's got some cool stickers. And this is a biggie. I'm going to call it Asunkia. This is a strategy RPG that got a fan translation a year or so ago, and I've been having a pain of a time finding this in good shape. So he charged $6 shipping, and of course he didn't want to bundle them because he sold these for $1. I'm gonna have to keep checking those auctions. They don't come with spine cards or anything, but you get this, and Asunkia came with these odd calendar things. And I looked online, and it's not a year's worth. It's like 6 months worth of these calendar cards. I don't know if it has to do with the story in the game. I guess it does. But Yeah, I can't find an auction with more than a handful of the cards, so I'm guessing they only released, for whatever reason, like half a year's worth of those cards with the game. But, so, whatever. It's just a weird extra. If you're going to give someone cards representing months of the year, you would go with 12, but instead it's like 5 or 6. Picked up the demo disc for Frame Grid. It's called Pilot Style, and I read that this is actually the full game. That what would happen is they would take this to trade shows and it would lock at some point or something. I don't know. Someone was saying that I read on the forum, I could find almost no information on this, that this is the full game, but there's a lock screen that shows kind of like an ad at some point. But it was like $3 from a US seller, which was kind of surprising. Not much to it, but you know how I am with demo discs. Big fan. So, and Frame Grid's a really fun game. It actually got a fan translation a while back. Forum purchase, super cheap. My only Xbox original purchase, The House of the Dead 3. I never had this one because I never had a light gun for the original Xbox, but just to complete the series, I now have all of House of the Dead's. And to be honest, even without the light gun, I've been wanting to play that. For my go-to seller, he had a list of PS2 stuff. He had some, he didn't have all. But he really surprised me by just sending me a ton of games. But here's the big thing. So say Onimusha 2, right? Looks perfectly mint, looks great. And it is. Everything about this is fantastic. Manual is great. Art's great. He packed it great. Super satisfied. So that's the stuff I wanted. But what he sent me came like this. And I didn't even take it out the wrapper. So you see Gradius 3 and 4. That's an excellent release. This is Metal Slug Anthology. That's fun. The problem is that all of these have the barcode punched out. He sent me about 20 games that are almost 100% mint in terms of manual, disc, art, everything except the barcode has been punched out. And some of those games were actually doubles of games I have in rough shape that I was looking to replace. But the whole punch out doesn't really help me because that's just another defect. He basically just wanted to dump them. And he put a little note. He said, here you go. And I have, in one drawer over there, there's about 10 to 12 of these bundles still wrapped up. There's tons. I don't know what I'm going to do with them. Because ideally, I would like them with, no problems. Another forum purchase is Kingsfield, the Ancient City. I'm surprised I never grabbed this one at some point. It can be difficult to get this one in good shape because there's so much black on the manual and on the art insert that it gets rubbed off really easily. Like the manual's got a little white spot, and that's just almost every copy I've seen has some sort of problem. I mean, all this stuff looks great when they print it out, but they've got to remember people are going to have these in drawers and take them on and off shelves for years. And scuffage is super easy, or happens super easily. Also picked up Street Fighter Zero Fighter Generation. This is our Street Fighter Alpha's anthology, except it actually comes with more versions of the games. It has an additional version or two of Street Fighter Alpha 2. If you heard my little spiel about it in the hardware video, there was several variations of Alpha 2, and this one has one or two more than the US version. And what happened was I bought a game from Solaris, and it came damaged, and so they gave me some money back. Or they gave me, not money, they gave me store credit. And so I found that, and I found this. This is an Atelier game, and it's got a fan translation. I thought the art looked really good. It's got I think this is a combination of like 1 and 2 that came out for the Saturn. And it's like a enhanced re-release way back when. It looked cool. For my go-to seller, also got a few more titles. Start off with a lower one. I'll go with a biggie. So Soul Calibur 2. I've always wanted to play the one with Link, so this was really cheap. I grabbed this one for my wife, Paper Mario and the Thousand Year Door. It's the bestseller edition. I had this at some point, and I found my Guzex receipt to prove I did, but it got lost during one of the hurricane evacuations. And the two biggies from him, Ikaruga, which, I mean, you can get it on Xbox Live now, and that's an excellent port, so you really don't need this, but just for the GameCube collection. And this one, Fire Emblem Path of Radiance, which is actually still sealed. More forum purchases. Some have scuffs and stuff I didn't know about, which for some of the titles it's okay, but for, taken all together, it was more scuffing and wear than I had anticipated, but the prices were so low. And one of those is Final Fantasy II and Final Fantasy. Now, I mentioned I want to play through the Final Fantasies in my previous hardware video because I'm playing through 13 now. Are these the way to go through the first two? I have these two on PSP, and I have 3 and 4 on the 3DS. So is that how you're supposed to do them, or should I go for the original releases? I don't know. Video Games New York had a sealed copy of Persona 2, Innocent Sin, so I grabbed it. It actually fit in this limited run box, which I'm very pleased about. They sent me a picture of it, and it looked terrible, and it actually came in great shape, so I'm not sure why they did that. I mean, they were nice enough to ask if I still wanted it. I guess they were just concerned. It was just dust, though. It had been in a warehouse somewhere, they said. Oh, and in honor of the Sega Saturn fan translation of Sakura Wars, I picked up the Wii version. I would love the PS2 version because it's got dual language, but it is incredibly expensive. I've actually had the Wii version at some point, and I beat it, and it was kind of... I couldn't find it for a good price for a while, so I figured, okay, because I wanted to go and kind of grab them all, because a new one's coming out, and they had a fan translation of one, so I know they're working on fan translations of the rest. But then a guy off of Amazon, one of the third-party sellers, had that for $22. And actually, I think it was a Hastings sold it for $22. So I was pleased with that. This was $9 on Amazon. It's Red Dead Redemption Game of the Year Edition for Xbox One because it's got 360 backwards compatibility. It's got Red Dead Redemption and, was it Undead Nightmare? I've actually beaten Undead Nightmare. I absolutely loved it. I thought it was a blast. So I got this to play through Part 1 again, which I never quite beat. From the same forum seller, again, a few dollars, Dead or Alive 6. I think Akira, who is it? Someone from Virtua Fighter 2 is in this, right? And that's why I bought it. I think he's a DLC character. Akira, I think. And he sold me a cheap copy of the first Gears of War Ultimate Edition. I really don't have that many Xbox One games. I think 3, and I think I have 2, so 5 total physical copies. That's definitely the system I ignored the most, but with the Game Pass, I'll be playing it more. For my birthday way back when, my wife got me World of Final Fantasy. I normally don't ask for games, but as the Vita is really coming to its end, like Strictly Limited and a few of those other places are putting out 1 or 2 releases here or there, I thought I'd grab that. It wasn't expensive on Amazon. I'm not going to subject her to like buying me retro stuff. As I mentioned, there's Animal Crossing, which my wife is not stopped playing. It's crazy. This is just something I beat, Fire Emblem Sessions. I can see why this made a big splash on the Wii U where there weren't that many RPGs, but playing it on the Switch, it did take me quite a while, but in handheld mode, my wife would watch TV while I played. They added a bunch of content for this. It's okay, but yeah, I can see why it was more impressive on the Wii U. On the Switch, where there's tons of role-playing games, like this is like a 6 out of 10, I guess. And I'm glad I played it. I mean, I got it a while back, but it's fun. I'll say that it's not as impressive as I thought it was going to be. But if you're into like the idol aesthetics and culture, you probably got way more out of it. If you like J-pop, it's much more impressive. I grabbed this from GameStop. They had it on sale. It's the double pack of Planescape Torment and Icewind Dale. I started Icewind Dale, but then my left Joy-Con started acting up, and it pretty much broke completely. And by the time I ordered some like $14 Hori replacement that doesn't support, what is it? It doesn't support something like Rumble, and like this $15 wired joystick Animal Crossing came out, so I'll get to it at some point. And finally, the physical copy of Skullgirls Encore. I actually got digital. They sent, if you bought this from Skybound, they sent you a digital code ages back for the wait. But the physical one finally came in. It's sealed. I have no reason to open it. I downloaded it ages back. Some PS4 stuff to wrap this up. This is an older release, but Metal Wolf XD came out. I had to go to GameStop for this, which always stings. 2 games I beat. A Plague Tale, which was very unique, but it can be pretty difficult because the stealth is a little... the mechanics are a little stiff, like the controls, and pretty... strict in terms of like how the enemy recognizes you, so it can be puzzleish to try to figure out your way around a situation, or very puzzleish, but not in an annoying way. Most of the time I give up on these games. I just don't have fun, but this was actually a lot of fun, set in a unique area, which the Plantagenets are invading France while a plague breaks out. So yeah, I beat this, and I would recommend it. And I beat Control. If you like the SCP stuff on the internet, which is like a community-driven science fiction, what would you call it? Universe, mythos of objects that have different powers and things you can't explain, you will love Control. Control dips heavily into that, like a hotel in the middle of nowhere that when you flick a light switch, you end up in a random spot, things like that. Picked up but haven't played yet, Doom Eternal. I grabbed this so I could get the Steelbook from Best Buy. Turned out not to be as cool looking as I was anticipating, but a friend just sent me a link and said, hey, Best Buy's got Steelbooks if you pre-order. So I'll get to that at some point. Best Buy has the Steelbook of Death Stranding on sale. I was just wanting to play this. Oddly enough, it was watching my wife play Animal Crossing and her traversing a cliff with a ladder and using a pole to go over little streams. I thought, hey, I wonder if Death Stranding's any good. And yeah, I was checking my email, and somehow the internet knows these things. I got an email about this being on sale. So I am looking forward to trying it. I'm not a big Kojima fan, but I've seen enough people on YouTube talk about this to where it's one of those games where if you like it, you love it, and I'm hoping I'm one of those people. A few re-releases, actually. We got Catherine Full Body. Let's see. This sweet double pack from Sega of Vanquish and Bayonetta. This is one I'm really regretting not being able to play because of Animal Crossing. I've read, isn't it, one of these ended up having a better port than the other one. I think Bayonetta's is better than Vanquish. Digital Foundry did a special on it, but they both kind of still have problems, but I love Vanquish so much that I had to support it. I just couldn't believe Vanquish came back out. Like, Bayonetta just keeps coming back no matter what. But Vanquish I was not expecting. Picked up the re-release of Persona 5 Royal to get all the DLC it comes with. And I'll wrap it up with a few Shenmue 3. I know. I want to play through the first two again. It's been ages, but I wanted to get the Steelbook for that. I picked up Baldur's Gate 1 and 2 on PS4 from the GameStop sale because I wanted to see the difference between that and the Switch versions. And two others. This was a cheap one from Play Asia because it's got English in it. Hardcore Mecha. Just like an old style Cybernator assault suit Lanos game, if you're into it. And on a retro tip, mentioned this Fighting Lair EX, the physical copy. Terry Bogard recently came out as a DLC character for this, so I'm super pumped. Give me some King of Fighters action in that. Alright, I'm going to wrap this up. Thanks for watching. I will talk to everyone later.